Hi, good day everyone. Our subject is about the true Sabbath observance based upon the Bible and the spirit of prophecy. In 1991, the satellite Kobe made the discovery of the century. Astronomers, astrophysicists, and cosmologists were very surprised. Data taken by Kobe with respect with the universe indicated that it has definite beginning. And the data was published into a book, and the book was entitled Creator of the Cosmos. And the author of this book said, "It is an amazing fact that universe has its beginning, and we had found the evidence of its birth, and it was what the satellite Kobe had discovered." Now, according to the Bible, who was the creator of the cosmos? Who was the creator of the universe? Let us read in the book of Revelation 14, verse 7. Saying with a loud voice, "Fear God and give glory to Him, for the hour of His judgment is come. And worship Him that made heaven and the earth and the sea and the fountains of waters." Dito po makikita natin na walang iba na naglikha sa langit, sa lupa, sa dagat, sa lahat ng mga bukal ng tubig. It was ang Panginoon. Siya po ang naglilikha sa lahat ng mga bagay. At ayon po sa history, sa Genesis 1:1 onwards, paano niya ginawa ang lahat ng mga bagay. Let us read. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. At ang Panginoon nagsabi sa first day, "Let there be light." So sa pamamagitan lamang ng kanyang pagsasalita, He said, "Let there be light." At anong nangyari mga kapatid? And there was light. So in the first day, by His word, He created the light. And on the second day, by His word again, He created the firmament. And on the third day, by His word again, He made the dry land to separate from the water. And on the fourth day, He created the lights in heaven like the sun, the moon, and the stars, by His word only. And on the fifth day, He created the animals in the sea, like the whales, like the sharks, and all species of the fish inside the sea. And on that day also, He created the fowls and the birds that fly in the air. And on the sixth day, now the Lord a little bit doing something. He did not speak, but He used some materials like the dust. He formed the dust, and then out of that dust, He created the animals, and He created the human being. So, very curious. On the seventh day, what did God do on the Sabbath, or in the Sabbath, on the seventh day? It is really very interesting to note how does Genesis 2 verses 1 to 3 describe His work. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day God ended His work which He had made. He rested on the seventh day from all His work which He had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it He had rested from all His work which God created and made. It is interesting to note that among the 6 days, the Lord created everything, but on the seventh day, He do special thing. And you know what? It's really hard to identify the differences between the 7 days of the week, one by one. Almost the same with respect to the quality of the air, with respect to the sunrise and the sunset. Almost the same. But what makes the seventh day different? here we understand that God rested on the seventh day. He rested not because he was tired. Everything was done. It was finished, so nothing to do. So that's the meaning of the word, he rested. And then, what is the meaning of the word, he blessed the seventh day? It is speaking good to the Sabbath day. Speaking good to the seventh day. That is the meaning of the word, blessed the Sabbath day. So, other 6 days, no mention about that. Only the seventh day that he rested, only the seventh day that he blessed. And the third one was that he sanctified the Sabbath. The word sanctified is setting aside for a special purpose. And what purpose? It was set aside for communion with him. So all his subjects, all created beings, especially human beings, must commune with God. This is the day wherein we must meet with God and commune with him. And this is what we call a day sanctified by the Lord. Now, since the Sabbath was given and started during the creation, this is very special. That's why it is a memorial of the creation. So in the Ten Commandments, it is included. It is part of the Ten Commandments. It is the fourth commandment. And let us read it. Exodus 20, verse 8 to 11. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heaven and the earth and the sea, and all in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. The most interesting point here in this fourth commandment is the Lord is the owner of the Sabbath. So the Sabbath is owned by the Lord. In verse 10 it says there, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. Ibig sabihin na nobody can change the Sabbath to another day. You cannot transfer it to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, or Sunday. You cannot do that. Why? You don't have permission. It is God who is the rightful person to change it. But he never changed it. Why? Because it is a special day. He said, I do 6 days. I created many things during 6 days. But on the seventh day, I rested. I hallowed it. I blessed it. So no one can change the Sabbath. Why? It is doing against the principle of ownership of God. Now, the Sabbath is very special, and it was given to Adam. It was kept by the Israelites, and then it was also kept by the prophets, especially Nehemiah. In the book of Nehemiah 13:19, let us see how did Nehemiah keep the Sabbath. And it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath, I commanded that the gates should be shut and charged that they should not be opened till after the Sabbath. And some of my servants set I at the gates, that there should be no burden be brought in on the Sabbath day. Kaya po, nakikita natin how strict was Nehemiah. It was not permitted to carry burdens during the Sabbath. And it is also a requirement that before the Sabbath will start, all the Israelites must come inside the city, or else you cannot come in. Why? Because they will shut the gates before sunset. So everyone, all farmers, all businessmen who were outside, they must see to it that before sunset, everything must get inside the city. And you know, the Sabbath also was observed in the New Testament. it was observed even by Christ and his disciples. Let us read Luke 4:16. And he, Jesus Christ, came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up for to read. Dito makikita natin na customary pala ni Jesus na every Sabbath, he should go to the synagogue and stood up there and read and make some sermon because he's a preacher. And he should go always to the synagogue every Sabbath. Eh bakit po? Kasi customary niya. Tulad ba sa atin, mga Pilipino, customary natin na kumakain ng rice. Kahit pupunta ka sa Amerika, sa Europe, sa Australia, o kahit saan, sa ibang mga bansa, pero hindi mo talaga makalimutan ang rice. Bakit po? Ito po ay customary ng Pilipino. So kahit saan ka magpunta, you will do it again and again because this is your custom. Tulad ni Kristo po, if we will invite Christ right now, when the Sabbath will come, ano kayang araw na si Kristo pupunta sa simbahan? Very clear, of course. He should go to church on the Sabbath. Why? It is his custom. Now, meron nagsabi na ang Sabbath daw ay para lang sa mga Hudyo, mga Israelitas. Ang Pilipino, mga Inchik, Hapon, at iba't ibang mga rasa, ay hindi dapat mag-keep ng Sabbath. Why? Because it was given only for the Jew. Tama kaya yon, mga kapatid? Tingnan natin, Marcos 2:27-28. And he, Christ, said unto them, the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Therefore, the Son of Man is Lord also of the Sabbath. Dito po makikita natin na ang Sabbath po ay naisagawa alang-alang po sa tao. It was made for men. Kapag kayo po'y tao, you should keep the Sabbath. You have a Sabbath. Pero kung hindi ka tao, of course, you are not obligated to keep the Sabbath. Kahit Inche ka man, o Hapones, o Amerikano, Australiano, Pilipino ka man, pag tao ka, you are duty-bound to keep the Sabbath. Luke 23:56, and they returned and prepared spices and ointments and rested the Sabbath day according to the commandments. Nung si Kristo po naipako doon sa cross, before sunset, they took away the body of Christ and placed him in a new sepulchre. At anong ginawa sa mga babae? They prepared spices and ointments, and they rested the Sabbath day according to the commandment. You'll see there, even the apostles, even Christ died and was resting on the time. The disciples were resting on the Sabbath according to the commandment. At ngayon po, what about Paul? Did Paul keep the Sabbath? Okay. Acts 17:2. And Paul in his manner went into them, and 3 Sabbath days reasoned out with the Scriptures. Acts 18:1-4. After these things, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth, and found a certain Jew named Aquila. And because he was of the same craft, he abode with them and wrote, for by their occupation they were tent makers. And Paul reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath and persuaded the Jews and the Greeks. Hebrews 4:9. There remaineth therefore a keeping of a Sabbath to the people of God. Dito po makikita natin na si Apostol Pablo ay gaya din ni Panginoong Jesus, na costumbre din ni Pablo na pupunta sa simbahan during Sabbath. At saka siya po'y nagpapatutuo na ang Sabbath po ay nanatili lalo pa sa mga tao ng Diyos o kaya sa bayan ng Diyos. Sabbath remaineth for the people of God. Ang tanong po, will the Sabbath be kept in the new heaven and in the new earth? Sabi po ng Isaiah 66:22 and 23, For us the new heavens and the new earth which I will make shall remain before me, said the Lord, so shall your seed and your name remain. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, said the Lord. Ibig sabihin na kung matapos na po ang mundong ito, the Lord will create a new heaven and He will create a new earth. At kahit pa sa panahong iyan, there will be still Sabbath worship. So kung hindi kayo accustomed ngayon sa lumang planet na tinitirahan natin, na hindi tayo nag-worship sa Panginoon during Sabbath, then we cannot go through in that new heaven and the new earth. Why? Because you are not accustomed. But in that new heaven and new earth, only people who knew the Sabbath will be going there. Why? Because everyone that will be redeemed will worship the Lord every Sabbath in the new heaven and the new earth. What about in our present time? Do you think that we as Seventh Adventists, we need or obligated to keep the Sabbath? Let us read Great Controversy 451. The work of the Sabbath reform to be accomplished in the last days is foretold in the prophecy of Isaiah. Thus said the Lord, keep ye judgment and do justice, for my salvation is near to come, and my righteousness to be revealed. Blessed is the man that doeth this, and the Son of Man that layeth hold on it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and keepeth his hand from doing any evil. Ang Sabado po ay nawawala during Dark Ages. Pagkatapos ng year 100, scarcely ang Sabbath po ay binigyang pansin ng mga tao. At saka during Dark Ages, 1,260 years until 1798 to 1800, almost nobody knew about the Sabbath. But thanks the Lord, there will be restoration time. Sinasabi dito, the work of Sabbath reform to be accomplished in the last days. So there was a prophecy in Isaiah 56:1 and 2 na ang Sabado po ay dapat ma-restore. At ayon po sa Child Guidance 529, paano natin i-keep ang Sabbath at paano magsimula ang Sabbath. Anong oras ang Sabbath po ay magsimula? Ito po ay talakayin natin. Child Guidance 529. Before the setting of the sun, let the members of the family assemble to read God's Word, to sing and pray. There is need of reform here, for many had been remiss. We need to confess to God and to one another. We should begin anew and make a special arrangement that every member of the family may be prepared to honor the day which God has blessed and sanctified. Kaya po, sa araw ng Friday, before ang sunset will start, lahat ng membro sa family will be assembled together to sing and to read God's Word. That will be what we call welcoming of the Sabbath. Now, do you think both ages of the Sabbath, Friday sunset and Saturday sunset, very important? What do you think? Ayon po sa Volume 6, Testimonies for the Church 356, we should jealously guard the ages of the Sabbath. Remember that every moment is consecrated holy time. Whenever it is possible, employers should give their workers the hours from Friday noon until the beginning of the Sabbath. Give them time for preparation, that they may welcome the Lord's day with quietness of mind. By such a course, you will suffer no loss, even in temporal things. Dito po makikita natin na both edges of the Sabbath should be guarded with so much care. Ibig sabihin, sunset Friday at saka sunset sa Saturday, yun po ay dapat natin bigyang pansin. At lahat ng mga empleyado na nagtrabaho at saka yung mga company o may-ari ng isang company, dapat kapag siya po ay isang Sabbath keeper, magbigay siya ng time for preparation. Ang lahat ng mga empleyado ay bigyan ng time to prepare. So half day, wala ng trabaho supposedly. Para ang mga workers, they can meet the Lord as the Sabbath will start quietly in their mind. Ano po ang karagdagan na hindi dapat gawin during the Sabbath? Let us read. Volume 6, 355, Testimonies for the Church. And he said unto them, This is that which the Lord hath said tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord. Bake that which ye shall bake today, and set that ye will set, and that which remaineth overly up for you to be kept until the morning. Sa araw po ng Friday, araw po ng preparation, ang dapat nating saingin o lulutuin o ihorno o baking sa English ay dapat gawin na sa araw na Friday. Bakit po? Kasi bukas ay araw ng Sabat. So, magtira sa mga pagkain na naluto sa Friday at saka keep it until the following day. Sa araw ng Sabat, ang gawin ay kumakain na lang, hindi na magluto. Totoo ba yan? Ayon po sa commentary, Volume 6, Testimonies for the Church, 355. On Friday, let the preparation for the Sabbath be completed. See that all the clothing is in readiness, that all the cooking is done. Let the boots be black, and the bats be taken. It is possible to do this. If you make it a rule, you can do it. Ano-ano yung mga alintuntunin na dapat nating sundin in keeping the Sabbath? Unang-una, ang mga damit ay planchado na. Ang lahat ng pagluluto ay natapos na. Yung mga sapatos ay naka-shine na, nakalimpya buta na. Tapos, what about the bathing? Yung pagliligo ay dapat natapos na before sunset. Posible itong magawa pag gawin nating isang role sa ating buhay. At ito po'y mababasa natin bilang karugtong. The Lord is no less particular now in regard to His Sabbath than when He gave the foregoing special directions to the children of Israel. He required them to bake and set, that is, boil, that which they would sit on the sixth day, preparatory to the rest of the Sabbath. Those who neglect to prepare for the Sabbath on the sixth day, and who cook food upon the Sabbath, violate the fourth commandment and are transgressors of God's law. All who are anxious to observe the Sabbath according to the commandments will not cook any food upon the Sabbath. Dito po ay very, very crucial. Ang lahat na hindi nagpreparar sa araw na Friday at nagluluto ng pagkain sa araw na Sabat, anong nangyari po? Ano kaya ang mangyari? Sabi dito, they violate the fourth commandment and are transgressors of God's law. Kaya po, ingatan natin. We are not supposed to police every houses. Oh, anong ginawa mo? Hindi kayo nagluto? No way. Do it personally. Do it with happiness. No one will be forced. Ang sabi po sa Bible, if you love me, keep my commandments. If you want to have special time for the Lord during the Sabbath, then prepare everything on Friday. Hindi pwede sa umaga ng Sabado, saka pa nagplansa. Sa umaga ng Sabado, saka pa naglimpya buta. O sa araw ng Sabado, saka pa nagpaligo. Some people say, wow, if I go to church without taking a bath, then I smell stinky. What kind of God is He? Saan ba ang masarap magpunta sa simbahan? Nakapaligo o walang ligo? Well, it sounds having a sense in our human understanding na mas maayos o mabuti na nakapaligo bago magpunta sa simbahan. But I want to ask you, pag ang Panginoon nagsabi hindi mo gawin, will there be any consequences? Mga kaibigan, dito po sa Bible, maraming mga bagay na ang mga commands ng Panginoon does not make sense to any human mind. For example, when the Lord said, cross the Red Sea, Moses, with the people, is that senseful sa human understanding? To cross the Red Sea with women, with children, with animals, with cattle, yun po ba may makatarunganin na mga idea? Is it senseful? No. Pero ang Panginoon nagsabi, cross the Red Sea. Halimbawa, nagsabi ang Panginoon, Moses, speak to the rock, but Moses smote the rock. What happened? Was there any consequences to Moses? Moses was greatly beloved by the Lord, but because of that sin, he was not able to enter the promised land. Kaya, although for me as human being, it is not really nice to go to church without bathing, but it was stated here. You cannot cook food on the Sabbath, no ironing your clothes on the Sabbath, no bathing, and well, let us follow it because it is the Lord who commanded us. Spiritual Gifts, 253, Volume 3. They will in the fear of God who gave His law from Sinai, deny themselves and eat food prepared upon the sixth day, and even if it is not as palatable, God forbade the children of Israel baking and boiling upon the Sabbath. That prohibition should be regarded by every Sabbath keeper as solemn injunction from Jehovah to them. The Lord would guard His people from indulging in gluttony upon the Sabbath, which He had set apart for sacred meditation and worship. Ano po ang rason bakit hindi na magluto, hindi na maligo, wala na magplansa, hindi na maglinis ng sapatos, lahat magawa na sa Friday? Dahil ito po ang rason. He set apart the Sabbath for sacred meditation and worship. Gusto ng Panginoon na quality time for Him. Maraming oras para sa Kanya. Kasi isang araw lang po, 6 para sa atin. Gusto niya na yung buong araw must be dedicated for Him, for worship and for meditation. Child Guidance 532, paragraph 2. Is it necessary to eat cold food, lalo na sa mga lugar na may winter time? Ano bang sinasabi dito sa Spirit of Prophecy? While cooking upon the Sabbath should be avoided, it is not necessary to eat cold food. In cold weather, let the food prepared the day before be heated, and let the meals, though simple, be palatable and attractive. Provide something that will be regarded as a treat, something the family do not have every day. Kaya po, sa araw na Sabat, kahit linuto na yung pagkain on Friday, it will be cold in the following day. Especially in places where there is cold times, like winter times, then we can heat the food prepared the other day. At saka yung pagkain, mga kapatid, should be palatable and should be attractive. And should be very special, like a treat, na yung pagkain na yan ay hindi common during the week. It should be special only during the Sabbath. What about talking business? Making plans for your farm, for your business, for your education, anything that is common conversation. Is it allowed during the Sabbath? Patriarchs and Prophets 307. Those who discuss business matters or lay plans on the Sabbath are regarded by God as though engaged in their actual transaction of business. To keep the Sabbath holy, we should not even allow our minds to dwell upon things of worldly character. And the commandment includes all within our gates. The inmates of the house are to lay aside their worldly businesses during the sacred hours. All should unite to honor God by willing service upon His holy day. Kaya dito, lahat ng mga plano sa negosyo should be laid down. Yung mga babasahin, mga newspapers, mga aklat sa eskwelahan, mga radio programs na pangsanglibutan should be stopped. This day is solely dedicated only for services and sacred meditation for the Lord. Ayon po sa Isaiah 58:13, if thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord honorable, and shalt honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words. Dito po, pati na yung sarili nating mga kagustuhan, own pleasure, own words, ay dapat natin bigyang pansin, mga kapatid. Everything must be spoken, must be done only for giving honor and glory of God during this day. Testimonies for the Church, Volume 2, 703. Ano pong sabi? Those who are not fully converted frequently let their minds run freely upon worldly business. And although they may rest from physical labor, and the Sabbath, their tongue speaks out what is in their minds. Hence these words concerning cattle, crops, losses, and gains, all this is Sabbath breaking. Ibig sabihin, huwag na tayo magtanong kung magkano ang income ninyo, anong mga plantation ninyo, kung magkano ang losses, magkano ang income, magkano ang profit. Everything is Sabbath breaking if you do it during the Sabbath. At isa pang kadagdagan o karagdagan, mga kapatid, ay mababasa natin dito sa Signs of the Times, May 25, 1882. The violation of the fourth commandment is not confined to the preparation of food. Many carelessly caught of blacking their boots and shaving until after the beginning of the Sabbath. They should not be. If any neglect to do such work on the working day, they should have respect enough for God's holy time to let their beards remain unshaven. Dito po makikita natin na pati na yung mga balbas natin, let them alone pag nakalimutan yung paggawa ng paglilinis sa ating mga balbas. Leave them. Or that will be a reminder that we are a forgetful person. Next Friday, when you do it again, when you arrive the next Friday, then remember that you should clean your face before the Sabbath will come. At paano yung mga plato na ginagamit natin during Sabbath? Is it possible to wash them or left it until sunset? Ano po ang recommendation? Selected Messages, Book 3, 258. We would charge all not to wash their dishes on the Sabbath, if this can be possibly avoided. God is dishonored by any unnecessary work done in His holy day. It is not inconsistent but proper that the dishes should be left unwashed till the close of the Sabbath, if this can be managed. Dito po, meron ng, shall we say, option. Kung halimbawa, ang isang pamamahay ay hindi masyadong maraming plato, then you should think it over how to solve this problem. Iba ay naglalagay ng plastic sa mga plato, at pagkatapos ng pagkain, kunin yung plastic, yun lang itapon. Iba naman gumamit ng disposable plates para pagdating ng Sabado ay hindi na maghugas. Tapon na lang yung mga plato. So, make some idea how to avoid washing dishes on the Sabbath. Pero kung hindi talaga posible ma-avoided, then you can do washing. But the moment you want to serve the Lord, make sure na kayo po ay magkaroon ng maraming plato sa inyong bahay. What about sleeping on the Sabbath? Let not one come to the place of worship to take a nap. There should be no sleeping in the house of God. You do not feel asleep when engaged in your temporal business because you have an interest in your work. Shall we allow the service which involves eternal interest to be placed on a lower level than the temporal affairs of life? Kaya dito po sa simbahan, hindi kaaya-aya sa paningin ng Panginoon na kayo po ay nakaupo doon po sa loob ng simbahan, pagkatapos kayo po ay natulog. Please be wake up, open your eyes when the services will start until finishing the service. None should feel at liberty to spend sanctified time in an unprofitable manner. It is displeasing to God for the Sabbath keepers to sleep during much of the Sabbath. Let not the precious hours of the Sabbath be wasted in bed. Anong ibig sabihin dito? Kasi sobrang pagod during the week. Kaya sa Friday night, pagdating ng umaga ay matagal gumising hanggang hindi makaabot sa simbahan on time. So, ibig sabihin dito, do not sleep much during the Sabbath. Or in the afternoon, hindi na bumalik sa simbahan. Instead na pupunta sa program sa afternoon, doon na lang sa bahay natutulog. It should not be done, brethren. Sabi po sa Selected Messages, Book 3, 257, there must be carefulness in our children during the Sabbath, especially in the church. The house of God is desecrated and the Sabbath violated by Sabbath believers' children. They run about the house, play, talk, and manifest their evil tempers in the very meetings where the saints have met together to glorify God and to worship Him in the beauty of holiness. Kaya dito, mga kapatid, mga kaibigan, hindi dapat pabayaan yung mga bata kasi makakaroon ng kaguluhan doon po sa simbahan. The people will be disturbed if our children will be running to and fro. Sabi dito, do not let them violate it, for you may just as well violate it yourself. So, yung mga bata na inosente, kung pabayaan natin na maglaro doon sa simbahan, they will shout inside the church, at saka they will go out inside the church, then, of course, they will violate the Sabbath. But they are innocent. Sino po ang nagkasala? It will be the parents. At anong gawin natin dito po sa bahay during the Sabbath? Lalo na sa before the sunset. Before the setting of the sun, let the members of the family assemble together to read God's Word, to sing and pray. Kaya bago mag-sunset, merong tinatawag na vesper meeting o welcoming of the Sabbath, I should say. Anong gawin sa mga parents pag sila may mga bata? Lalo na sa Sabado o hapon ng Sabado. In pleasant weather, let parents walk with their children in the fields and groves. Amid the beautiful things of nature, tell them the reason for the institution of the Sabbath. Describe to them God's great work of creation. Kaya sa mga hapon ng Sabado na maganda yung panahon, bring the children out and walk with them and go to nature and teach them who created those things in nature. And describe to them how great is God in His work of creation. At ano pa mga kapatid? Sa araw ng Sabbath, less food to be prepared. We should not provide for the Sabbath a more liberal supply of a greater variety of food than for other days. Instead of this, the food should be more simple and less should be eaten, in order that the mind may be clear and vigorous to comprehend spiritual things. Overeating befogs the brain. The most precious words may be heard and not appreciated because the mind is confused by improper diet. By overeating on the Sabbath, many have done more than they think to dishonor God. Big sabihin na hindi mabuti o hindi recommended to eat too much during the Sabbath. Ano po mangyari? Pagdating mo sa loob, you'll be what? Clumsy and tired, and easily you will sleep there in the nook or in the corner of the church. At ang mga mensahe na very important sa ating kaluluwa ay ano po, nakaligtaan. Overpast. Why? Because we are sleeping. Another thing is to have a special suit on the Sabbath. Child Guidance 531, paragraph 2. Many need instruction as to how they should appear in the assembly for worship on the Sabbath. They are not to enter the presence of God in the common clothing worn during the week. All should have a special Sabbath suit to be worn when attending service in God's house. While we should not regard to our outward appearance, we are to be neat and trim, though without adornment. The children of God should be pure within and without. Ibig sabihin na meron dapat na special dress during the Sabbath. Yung mga damit natin during the week ay hindi natin gamitin para pang Sabado. At saka, we must be clean, we must be neat, even without adornment. Because the Lord wants to see natural beauty. At kailangan po tayo ay magiging pure within and without. Ang tanong po, merong isang bersikulo sa Bible na minsan nagbigay po ng confusion, lalo na sa mga Sabbath keepers. Ito po ay mababasa natin sa Exodus 16:29. Let us read. See, for that the Lord hath given you the Sabbath, therefore He giveth you on the 6th day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the 7th day. Anong ibig sabihin dito? Bawal ba lumabas sa bahay during the Sabbath? Sabi dito, walang isang tao na dapat lumabas sa kanyang tahanan sa araw na Sabbath. Ay bakit po? Anong punto na hindi sila dapat lumabas? Doon po sa doon po sa kanilang sa kanilang lugar na kinukunan nila ng mana during the day, during the common days. Hindi sila dapat lumabas sa bahay, pupunta doon para maghanap ng mana. Ibig sabihin, sa araw ng Sabat ay walang mana. Kaya, sabi ng Panginoon, you cannot find it during the Sabbath. So, you should not go out in your house during the 7th day. Pero, ang tanong po, bawal ba na ang isang Sabbath keeper ay lumabas sa kanyang bahay papunta ng simbahan? Ano po sinasabi dito sa Numbers 28:25? And on the 7th day, he shall have an holy convocation. He shall do no servile work. Anong ibig sabihin ng Holy Convocation? Ay ito po isang banal na pagtitipon. So, how can you join this Holy Convocation if you will not go out from your house? Holy Convocation means holy meeting. So, ito po mangyari sa araw ng Sabbath. Every Sabbath, there will be Holy Convocation. Ibig sabihin, lalabas pa rin yung mga Israelitas, pero hindi doon sa ilang, hindi doon sa lugar na doon na naibigay sa Panginoon yung mga mana. Saan sila lalabas o lumalabas? Doon po sa tolda, nandoon po sa meeting hall. What about Jesus Christ in the New Testament? Did Jesus Christ went out from His house to go to church during Sabbath? Okay, Luke 4:16. And He came to Nazareth where He had been brought up, and as His custom was, He went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up to read. Ibig sabihin, si Kristo po bawat Sabado ay lumalabas sa kanyang bahay. Pupunta po siya saan? Sa simbahan, sa sinagoga. Ngayon po, ano po bang mga bagay na pwedeng gawin sa araw ng Sabat? Matthew 12 verse 12, how much then is a man better than a sheep? Wherefore it is lawful to do well on the Sabbath days. Sa context ng bersikulo na ito, si Jesus po ay accused by the Pharisees and the Sadducees because He was healing sick person during the Sabbath. Pero ang sagot ni Kristo, saan ba ang mas mabuti? Kasi ang mga Hudyo po, sa araw ng Sabbath, pag mahulog sa isang balon o isang well ang kaniyang tupa, anong gawin? Sumagot agad yung mga Pariseo, of course, ligtasin namin kung nahulog sa isang balon. Pero sagot ni Jesus, saan ba ang mas mabuti? Yung mga tupa o ang tao? Bakit ligtasin ninyo yung mga tupa? Paano yung mga tao na may sakit? Kaya sabi ni Kristo, it is lawful to do well or to do good during the Sabbaths. Explanation po ng Spirit of Prophecy, My Life Today, 231. The necessities of life must be attended to. The sick must be cared for. The wants of the needy must be supplied. He will not be held guiltless who neglects to relieve suffering on the Sabbath. Kaya lahat ng mga may sakit ay dapat arugahan. Ang lahat ng nangangailangan ng mga pagkain, lalo na yung may sakit, ay dapat bigyan po. So, it is not wrong to do good on the Sabbath, especially to save life. Ang pinaka-importante dito, na ang Sabado po ay isang test for salvation. Volume 6, 352, Testimonies for the Church. The Sabbath question is to be the issue in the great final conflict in which all the world will act apart. God has called us to uplift the standard of His downtrodden Sabbath. How important then that our example in the Sabbath keeping should be right? Without obedience to His commandments, no worship will be acceptable to God. Kaya po dito, we need to be very careful kasi one day, Sabbath keeping will be the issue of the final conflict of the Christendom. Mahati sa dalawa ang sangkatauhan. One will keep the Sabbath and one will oppose in keeping the Sabbath. Pero ang lahat ng mga pagsasamba sa Panginoon will not be acceptable without obedience to His commandment. Sabi po ng Great Controversy 605, the Sabbath will be the great test of loyalty. For it is the point of truth especially controverted. When the final test shall be brought to bear upon men, then the line of distinction will be drawn between those who serve God and those who serve Him not. Mangyari po at the end of this history of this world, then the world will be divided into two. One who will serve the Lord, keep His commandment, keep the Sabbath, and those who serve Him not, those who will violate the Sabbath of the Lord. Even those who keep the Sabbath, not all of them will be sealed. There are many, even among those who teach the truth to others, who will not receive the seal of God in their foreheads. Testimonies for the Church, Volume 5, 214. Ibig sabihin, kahit mga Sabbath keepers na, pero ang lahat ng mga tiny, minute statutes in keeping the Sabbath ay hindi po nasunod, ano po mangyari? They will not receive the seal of the living God. A partial obedience of the Sabbath law is not accepted by the Lord and has a worse effect upon the minds of the sinners than if you made no profession of being a Sabbath keeper. They perceive that your life contradicts your beliefs and lose faith in Christianity. At maliwanag at klaro dito mga kapatid na hindi pwede matanggap ng Panginoon yung tinatawag na partial obedience. Gusto ng Panginoon na lahat ng requirements, malaki man at maliit na mga requirements ay dapat nating sundin. Eh bakit po? Because partial obedience to Sabbath law is not acceptable unto the Lord. Kaya po, bilang conclusion, mamimili tayo dito mga kapatid. Great Controversy 449. Those who continue in transgression will receive the mark of the beast. If we desire the blessing promised to the obedient, we must observe the Sabbath more strictly. So, the choice is ours, my beloved friends. If we continue in transgressing the Sabbath, pagluluto ng pagkain, paglilimpyo o paglilinis ng mga sapatos, paghugas ng mga plato during Sabbath, shaving your face during Sabbath, and talking business during the Sabbath, and many other things, statutes, how to keep the Sabbath. If we continue in transgressing, then what will happen? We will receive the mark of the beast. But, in the other option, if we are desirous to keep the Sabbath, we must observe the Sabbath more strictly, and we will receive the seal of the living God, candidates for heaven. May the Lord bless you and keep you, and bless the word of the Lord today. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.